a time tunnel. Face the incredible dangers of the past, or the unknown secrets of the future.
The Catholic Church has an absolute right to own property and to make use of those material and temporal things which are necessary to her to gain her spiritual end. And this was codified during the reign of Emperor Constantine, and the Church was then allowed to hold and transmit property. And this was the initial legal basis for the Church to own property. Then, with the diminishing power of the Byzantine Empire in Italy, the Church stepped into the void and provided services that had formerly been provided by the government. In many ways, the Church became the de facto government. Then in the year 1781, Charlemagne made it official and codified the lands over which the Pope would be the temporal ruler, and thus the Papal States were created. In the last video on this channel, I mentioned that the concept of separation of church and state is a Masonic concept, and that it's alien to Catholic thought. The Papal States were a good thing. The Papal States consisted of the civil territory which for over 1,000 years acknowledged the Pope as temporal ruler. In the 21st century, the Papal States seem like an historical curiosity, like an insignificant footnote. But any country that lasts 1,000 years is remarkable. In fact, it was one of the longest-lived countries in history. Even during the Avignon Papacy, the Papal States continued to function. The city of Avignon itself was added to the Papal States, and it remained a papal possession until it was seized during the French Revolution by the Freemasons. At its greatest extent in the 1700s, the Papal States included most of central Italy. During the unification of Italy in 1860, the Kingdom of Italy invaded and occupied the eastern portion of the Papal States. Then in 1863, there was a rumor in Rome that Cardinal Francesco Pantini declined to take an oath for the defense to the shedding of his blood of the temporal possessions of the Church and for the recovery of those which had been usurped. The rumor was that in taking the usual oath, Cardinal Pantini wanted to modify the oath and add that he would swear for everything that was not contrary to the welfare of the Church. So it seems that Pope Pius IX had instituted an oath that all cardinals were to swear that they would shed unto their blood for the defense of and the restoration of the Papal States. Other than these three news clippings that I just showed, I can't find anything more on the oath. If you have any information about it, please post your comments down below. Then in 1870, Rome itself was invaded and occupied by the Freemasons. The Pope became a virtual prisoner in the Vatican. At the time of the writing of the Catholic Encyclopedia, a little more than 100 years ago, the encyclopedia said, "The Roman question remains unsettled to the present day, since its solution by Italy has thus far been absolutely one-sided, besides having been brought about by violence." Without heeding the protests of the Pope, Rome was declared the capital of Italy on June 30th of 1871. Then, in 1929, under Pope Pius XI, the Church was forced to renounce the bulk of the Papal States, minus Vatican City, and cede it to Benito Mussolini. Now, it's unclear when the oath that the cardinals were required to take for the defense and restoration of the Papal States ceased to be required. It might have been in 1921. We know for certain that Pope Paul VI didn't ask for it. We see here in a speech on the eve of the opening of the Ecumenical Council, Pope Paul became the very first pope in history to say that the Italian unification, which destroyed the Papal States and curtailed the papacy's temporal powers, was actually a good thing. Pope Paul peculiarly said that the obliteration of the Papal States was a boon to Italy and to humanity and to the Church. And this is just one of the many ways Pope Paul hurt the Church. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment. We'll be back again with another one probably in about a week, and it will be a continuation of this issue of the Papal States. But in the meantime, please pray for the Church.
I remember you.